Hello, FlossTube, and welcome back to Fairy Tales and French Knots. I'm Erin, your host, and this is my channel about cross-stitch, where I talk long enough to make my family wonder what I'm up to, but short enough that you can watch me on your lunch break. So, welcome to any new visitors, and welcome back to anyone who's returning. Thanks for tuning in to see what I've been up to. So, the first thing I've been up to since my last video is I have a finish, and I finished Prairie Schooler's Santa with an Arc from the St. Nicholas 2 booklet, and I have it fully finished into a jar wrap. So here he is, stitched on 28 count blue. I really don't know the color name. And then I had this green fabric in my stash that I used to make the jar wrap. The join in the back is not exactly perfect, but it came out pretty good. I was pleased. So there he is. I think in the fall, I'm going to try and have a whole lot of these in different styles and things done. As you can see, maybe on the shelf behind me, over on that end, there are a lot of candle jars. So I'm hoping to have a bunch of these done. My daughter's school music boosters have a craft show, so I thought I could put these out for a couple bucks a piece, raise some money for the music program, and get rid of some of my finishes. So that was my finish for this week. In terms of whips, I've been all over the place, and that's partly because of some things I'll talk about later in my video. Kind of life stuff, so I'll put it toward the end. If people don't want to watch it, they can just turn it off. But I did work on my Seaside Angel. I'm calling her a Seaside Maiden by Marbeck. And here she is. I did the work where over there, that bit of teal green blue color. And I got more of her hair done. There she is. I thought I'd get some work done on her because coming up March 1st is Abby Bella Stitch's Stitch Asia Stitch Along, and I've got something in my stash to get out and work on for that. So I want to get some work done on my other stuff first and then put it all away for a month and work on something new, which actually is not a new start. It's something I've had out for, I think I started last year for the Stitch Asia Stitch Along, and never finished. So I'll get that back out. Let's see. The other thing I have is I have a small start, which is we had a snow day here on Friday. So with the snow day, I felt the need to start something not snowy. And this is spring. There he is, little bunny. I just love the wiggly carrot. And this is a piece of Witchelt Blueberry over dye. So it's got kind of a purpley blue cast to it. I did switch out the color for those blue flowers. And the bunny, he shows up better in some lights than others. So I may have to outline him. I'm not sure yet. We'll see what it looks like when he's all finished. But it was an Etsy pattern from a seller called Ox Leone Needlework, and I'm not certain if she's Ukrainian or Russian, but either way, I love the pattern. And I've seen a lot of people doing stitches by Ukrainian designers, and to recognize the struggles going on in Ukraine right now. And I can't say that's contributing to that project, but maybe. And then the other thing I've been working on are project bags. And the first one, I finished 2 this week, and I don't have projects in them yet, but I thought I'd show them both off because they're very different, and they really got me thinking like philosophically about crafting. So first, I finished this one. And this is Teresa Kogut fabric I bought from an Etsy seller called Black Tie Fox. she was really great to work with. So I'll link her below, along with the Oxleone website for the spring bunny pattern. But anyway, so this was what I came up with. Part of the problem was when I ordered the fabric, I did not order fat quarters. I just ordered standard quarters, which meant they were long and too narrow. So what I did, and you can kind of see it up here, I pieced it at the top, and then I duplicated that line of stitching. I stitched in the ditch there to quilt it, and then I put matching lines at the bottom. And on the back, I purchased a 1/4 yard of the checker and a 1/4 yard of the trees. Again, they were skinny quarters instead of fat quarters. So I pieced those together like so. And just by chance, as I was putting this one line in right here, it was perfectly underneath the house. When I flipped it over, I had to chuckle to myself because I thought that just came out perfect. So I love this little bag. I think it's super sweet and just makes me super happy. So then I got that done, and I thought, I've got more, because my mother has still been sending me zippers that she finds at thrift stores, and I think she bought some at Joann's on sale and sent those to me. So I started pawing through my fabric stash to see what else I had that might work. And I found this piece of fabric was actually pieced. It was the last 6 squares from a quilt that I made for my daughter when she was 3. It was my first adventure in quilting. I'd bought I don't even know, a layer cake or a stack of, they were a stack of, I think, like 4-inch pre-cut squares. I think a layer cake is 10-inch squares. I'm not completely fluent in quilt. But anyway, I pieced all this together. I made this crazy little quilt for my daughter when she was just a toddler. And then I had these squares left over. And I pieced them with my border fabric and just stuck them in a box, thinking, I'll make a doll quilt or something. Well, my daughter doesn't do dolls. She's never done dolls. So here's this little chunk of fabric. And I found it and thought, hey, I could, add some more borders to it and make it the backing of a stitching bag. So this is what I came up with. And there's the fabric with the fairies. The dark fabric it's like a burgundy that I'd used for the quilt. And then I put this pink flowered border down here at the bottom, and there's some up at the top as well behind the zipper. And I thought, well, I'll stitch in the ditch of the pieced piece, and that will give me a quilty-ish pattern on the back. So there's that. But this gave me so many problems, people. So many. First problem being that I used contrasting fabric instead of contrasting thread in my sewing machine instead of coordinating, which you think, oh, that will make a real pretty highlight, which is true until you realize you're not the best seamstress and your lines are really wobbly and you end up with weird stuff like this. And it's not perfect. It is very, very far from perfect. The other thing I did while I was cutting the backing, I cut the piece that would go here at the top first. And I always cut mine. I use the pattern from Whitney Sews, and I always cut mine with 1 inch around to fold over and make the binding. Well, I wasn't paying attention while I was cutting, and I started to cut on the bottom at a 1/2 inch. And then I went, oh crap, and I moved my ruler real fast. So I had a section in the middle here that had a slice through the middle. And then over on the ends it was fine. So I thought, well, I'll just put some iron-on interfacing behind it and that will hold it together. The problem was that the cut was right on the fold. So then I tried to whip stitch it together. And holy cow, does it look like a total Frankenstein bag down there. And I was looking at it going, I don't know what to do with this thing. I don't love it. I do not love this bag. But then I thought to myself, this is how my projects go. And this is what happens when you don't think things through, stop, back away, when you charge on like a bull in a china shop. So this bag is me. This one is when I'm thinking and careful and sometimes lucky. This one is when I'm just stubborn and must finish. So I figure I'm going to keep this bag to keep me humble for those days when I think I should be able to do anything. Well, sometimes you can't. So those were my stitching bags that I finished this past week. I did get a little bit of stash. I ordered from someone on one of the stash groups, Be Kind Always by Heartstring Samplery. And you can't read the text real well in this picture, but it says, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you can't see. Be kind always. I've always liked that quote. And maybe this needs to be started and put in that kind of not perfect bag, because it sums it up right there. If not, it goes in my stash. We're all happy. So that's what I've been up to over the past week or so. I do have something to talk about in my I'd frame it if I could section. So here's what I would frame this week if I could. And this is a piece by Black Swan Designs. It was a kit or a chart pack called Fairy Gate. And I stitched this, I started this in 2015. And I remember exactly when and why I started it. It's all kind of some personal stuff was going on at the time. But it says, far beyond the garden gate, time stands still as fairies play. And the chart came with a sun that was a big orange clay, kind of inexact looking thing. So I subbed in this big reflective charm. As you can see, it creates quite a lump in the fabric there. So I have not considered having this framed yet. I think it's going to take some fiddling with mats and shadow boxes or something like that. And the fabric is Sugar Maple Fabrics Butterfly Kisses, which has some pink and green and light colors in it. It's hard to see. Let's see if I put something behind it. Does it show a little bit better? No, it just looks shadowed. So that's what, if I would frame it if I could. So now I'm going to take the last minute or two here and just rant about life and things that irritate me, which right now is the American healthcare system. I'm a type 1 diabetic. I've been a type 1 diabetic for almost 40 years. I'm well managed. I'm a functional adult who's employed, who participates in life and does things. The only difference being that I need to check my blood sugar and administer insulin several times a day. Several years ago, one of my doctors suggested I get an insulin pump. At that point, my insurance put up a whole bunch of hurdles and prevented me from doing that. And at that point, I convinced myself I didn't want an insulin pump, and I still don't. However, every fucking year, and I didn't say a word there, so there's fill in the blank. Lately, especially, it seems I've had to jump through hoops with my insurance companies, or my health insurance company, whichever one it may be, dictated by my employer. And what they do is they will put certain insulins on their formulary and take other ones off. And normally this happens with all kinds of medications all the time, and it may go completely under the radar by 95% of the population because you take a medication, you get better, you no longer need the medication. So if the medication they give you for, your strep throat or whatever condition you need to be cured of, if that medication changes between this year and next, you may not know, and it may never matter, But I take the same medication, carefully calibrated for my body every day for the rest of my life. And when you tell me, out of the blue, that because one pharmaceutical company has made a deal with one insurance company, and now this medication is cheaper for my insurer, and therefore I have to take it, I get a little bit hot. And I've written letters, I've made phone calls, I've written to politicians, and it's exhausting, people. It just, I can't explain it any better. And I hope I'm not sounding like, I feel entitled to anything, but I guess I do feel entitled to make health decisions for myself. And when my health is good and I've taken care of myself and done everything the way I'm supposed to, and all of my numbers are right where they should be, to the point that when I was pregnant with my daughter, my numbers didn't even look like I had diabetes. Um, then to say, well, but you're doing great, but take this new medication. You don't do that to someone, especially someone who's managing something every day, all day. This isn't like I take a pill and then 24 hours pass and I take another pill. No, I take my insulin, I check my blood sugar, I eat something, I take some more insulin, I check my blood sugar again. I actually have a continuous glucose monitor, which is a great, great thing. But again, I don't know if next year they'll say that my continuous glucose monitor is no longer covered and I have to get a different kind of monitor. So all the stability that I work really hard to create and maintain gets knocked right out from under me every time these things happen. And my doctor has written prior authorizations. I'm very, very familiar with that process. This time, the usual, patient has maintained outstanding control on current regimen explanation, complete with all of the files that are in my medical file. Everything they sent was basically for naught, and it was still denied. So I'm really not sure what my next steps are, but I'm very, very, very frustrated, which explains why my stitching has been all over the place. And I'm completely unfocused on so many things, which, that all speaks to quality of life, right? But the insurance companies don't care about that either. So, on that note, happy stitching, everybody! And I'll see you next week, or, when I have something else interesting to share. Bye!